like we're good, right?
I don't know, Sandy?
We're live. You can begin the meeting.
Okay. Okay, welcome to the meeting in Municipal Civil Service Commission, City of Albany. As you know, or may know if you're following, this was originally scheduled to be held on May 27th, 2020 via video conference. Due to technical difficulties, it was adjourned and postponed until today, with the exception of the extension of list 72976 at 72976, senior hall monitor position within the Albany School District. And the commission met, was that on Thursday, the 28th? On Thursday, 28th, and we did extend that list for 1 year, and it is in the records. I call the meeting to order. Commissioners Thomas McNaughton, Linda Jackson-Chalmers, Michael Cassidy, Peachy Jones representing the Law Department, and Sandra Coleman representing the Human Resources Department. Commissioners, have you had an opportunity to review and approve the minutes of the previous?
Yes, move to approve.
I move
Second.
to accept.
Okay. Passed and carried. We're going to pass item 3 on the agenda, which is the extension of the senior hall monitor list as I addressed it previously. Item 4, report of appointments, competitive, non-competitive, exempt, and labor class. The Civil Service Office reported on the following provisional competitive class appointments: Jeffrey Hunt, Jessica Morgan, and Matthew Tucker, all as Public Works foreperson within DGS on 5/4/2020. Megan DePaula, Human Resources Generalist 2 in Administrative Services, 5/11/2020. Tanya Bozil, Customer Contact Specialist in the Department of Water and Water Supply, 5/18/2020. The Civil Service Office reported on the following non-competitive class appointments: Devin Harding, Laborer 2, DGS, 4/7/2020. Jose Vega, Labor 2, Albany PD, 5/18/2020. Item 5, amendment of job specifications. First is financial analyst. Sandy, care to take us through that?
The only changes in the minimum qualifications of taking the word public out of the qualifications for public accounting and auditing. This position, you amended it in January to reduce the number of years of experience. Since then, the job has been posted. There were very few candidates that actually met the qualifications due to the restriction of it being public accounting or auditing experience. So in speaking with the budget director for the city and the department where the position is located, we've come up with that just taking the public out, and it would have qualified a lot more applicants to widen the applicant pool for that job.
Okay. Any questions, Linda, Mike?
No questions.
No questions.
I recommend that that the amendment be approved.
So
Approved.
Second, passed and carried. Internal Claims Auditor, Sandy.
This is a position located in the school district, provided for under law. They've asked for the word payment to be taken at basically the typical work activities were what was changed. Where it reviews and audits claims for payment, they've changed payment to all identified funds, and then added 3 typical work activities: ensures that evidence has been collected and provided for each claim that has allowed it to be properly audited and such claim is eligible for payment, submits monthly written reports to the Board of Education via template provided, and devotes the time necessary to fulfill the duties of the appointment. Other than that, no changes were made.
Okay. Linda,
I move to accept.
seconded,
Approved.
passed and carried. Okay, let's see what's next. Police disqualifications. Sandy,
Mhm.
we have three different groups of candidates that have disqualified for different reasons, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I would point the commissioners to the list that precedes, the agenda that precedes the email from Anthony Batuello. There's a list of 7 under psychological, not recommended for hire, 6 under section 50.4, and 4 under poor moral character. I would make the motion that we identify these candidates by first and last initials only in the interest of confidentiality. How do you feel about that?
I agree.
That works.
So as I'm looking at this correspondence, Sandy, we have the first list, which has no other information on it, just a police officer DQ and the 3 groupings. All the subsequent correspondence from Anthony Batuello.
Yeah, I pulled all the disqualifications and put them on one paper for the
Okay,
commission.
so we don't need to get into any of the details indicated in the following.
That's just for your information.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I would submit that we accept the disqualifications for psychological, not recommended for hire candidates, BP, JC, EZ, RB, MG, CP, and RH.
Move to approve.
Second.
Passed and carried. Under section 50.4, disqualifications, candidates KM, JR, JO, AA, KH, SF.
I moved to accept
Seconded,
qualification.
Approve.
passed and carried. From poor moral character, TM, RM, SC, and MW.
Move to accept disqualification.
Seconded,
Approved.
passed and carried. Okay. Police officer temporary withdrawals.
You have an email after the 2 emails from Commander Batuello. You have an email from Detective Anthony Fasiglione
Correct.
indicating 4 candidates who have asked to be a temporary withdrawal for this round of hire.
Right, the applicants are Daniel Sopko, Suzette Garnett, Gerard Bonaro, and Donahue Hunt.
Mhm.
I would make the recommendation that be accepted and approved.
Second.
Approve.
Passed and carried. Okay, on to old business. Do we have any old business, commissioners?
No. From
Nope.
Okay, new business. Sandy, there was some, we have identified the source of the stipend remittal. Can you share some information on that?
Yeah, so the commissioners, I spoke with Tom last week, and the commissioners have not received their stipends since January. The person who was in our office processing those payments did retire at the end of the year, and we have found the new person who is processing those will be sending out or sending down the vouchers for payment to the audit office, and will be submitting for payment from January through June. So you should be receiving that soon.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Was
Thank
that,
you.
Sandy, was that somebody in HR and management services, or was it in budget or finance or somebody?
Human resources.
Yeah, okay.
They retired in December, and then the person who took over billing, that person retired at the end of February. And then when we took over billing, Tatiana, who was actually also in human resources, she has taken over the billing, and we discovered that the commissioner's payments haven't been sent out. So she will be taking care of that, and it will be sent down for January through June.
That's fine. Thank you very much for getting on that.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Any other new business?
What about the resolution?
The resolution, yes. Peachy, can you?
I think we got Linda here.
So all of the information that I have is largely included in the resolution. The city of Albany would like the approval of the commission to suspend, I guess is the appropriate word, examinations that apply to the municipal government for the next few months due to budget shortfalls. And that's about it. Sandy, I don't know if you have any other additional information, but the resolution is before you, and we're hoping that you would discuss and take appropriate action.
So this might be a stupid question. This is Mike. From a budgetary, like, I get the budget concern, so that makes a lot of sense. But my question is, do they have to, and I just don't have my handbook in front of me, but why do we have to suspend? Do they have to legally, without this suspension, do they legally have to hold the tests, and which obviously costs money and all of that stuff, which I understand, but are they mandated to have the test without this suspension by resolution?
So what has been happening is we've continued to post any exams that have been scheduled by New York State, or requested by us and scheduled by New York State, and we've continued to accept applications during this time. And as the exam date approaches, we then make a decision to postpone the exam until a later date after we have been reopened for regular business. And we've actually followed any guidance from New York State, or if New York State postpones their exam, we also postpone due to security reasons should candidates be signed up for exams with multiple municipalities. And that's how we've been handling it. We haven't held exams since March 14th, but we have posted exams that were to be held April 25th, May 16th. And then we just sent notification to the state that we are postponing the June 13th, and that we probably will be postponing the June 27th exams as well until we.
So here's my question though. So if we're doing that already, why do we need to pass a resolution saying that we're going to do it if we're already doing that?
I think the resolution is requesting that we don't even call for exams during this time, and that for any of them that we have called for prior to this, that we do not conduct or hold or even post, to my understanding.
So here's my, at first blush, and I don't think we can act on this today, because given that we haven't really looked at it, but at first blush, it doesn't look to me. Well, I don't know that we need to indicate, because we're embarking on phase 2. So from a pandemic standpoint, Governor Cuomo ordered businesses to close March 17th or 16th. We're now, into June. And I don't think it makes the resolution look a little odd that we're passing it in June relative to issues that popped up in March. Certainly, we had no idea the duration of this, but we do now. We know that we're embarking on phase 2. And depending on who you talk to, it's likely that we'll be in a phase 3 in early July, right after our next meeting. We may not be. The other thing is the budget shortfall within the resolution, I think, is unnecessary. We've had budget shortfalls before, some, certainly not as great as this one. And I don't know if we need to talk about the markedly decreased sales tax, unforeseen expenses. And we talk about that it be resolved, the City of Albany Municipal Civil Service Commission, until the COVID-19 pandemic ends. That, I think, is a really vague statement, because I don't know if there's gonna be somebody waving a flag, August 10th or November 1st saying, okay, it's over. I don't like the open-ended nature of this, or 6 months.
So Pete, yeah, exactly. So Peachy, do you think is COVID ending defined? I think it would help if there was some language around that, but is it defined by the state of emergency ending?
Yeah, that might be better language.
Way to get clarifying language around. Here's the thing. Listen, I get the need to do this, and I get the reason behind it, and it makes a lot of sense. And it doesn't make sense for us to kind of have expenses, even if they're, not huge from a budgetary standpoint, in the fiscal situation the city's in, every dollar counts. So I get the need to, and the purpose of, not having unnecessary expenses related to testing that we're going to not end up using anyways. Well, so I want to do this, just for the record, but I think, from a language standpoint as to when COVID ends, I think just clarifying language there is helpful.
If I could piggyback on that, going back to what Mike said at the start of this conversation, if we're not mandated to hold a test, let's just not hold it. I don't know that we need a resolution to say we're not going to do it because of X, Y, and Z. Secondly, I'd like to know how many people have we received applications for tests that have been now postponed? The tests that were supposed to have been held in, April, May, the ones we're going to cancel in June. How many people are we talking about? And are we saying then that it is an indefinite postponement, or we're going to cancel it? And is that within I'm sure that's within our purview, Sandy, right? I just think we've taken money from these people. They're waiting to take this test. And how do we handle promotional exams? If there's openings and we need to fill them, we want to offer promotional exams. We can't have two sets of standards. If we're going to have the test, we should have the test. If we can't, then we shouldn't. There's a lot here that we're opening a lot of doors here, and I don't see that the language addresses my concerns on that.
So prior to the June exams that we have scheduled, maybe 15 people for the April and May exams.
Mm-hmm.
The June exams include a police sergeant promotional exam and a fire lieutenant promotional exam, which for each of those exams, we have over 60 candidates. So obviously we weren't gonna, we need to postpone those because we can't seat that many people in a location together during this time.
I didn't take that part.
Sorry, was it 60 applicants or 60 possible candidates?
60 applicants. So we've received over 60 applicants for both promotional exams. They're on separate days, but we also have the issue where we normally use the school district to hold these larger exams because we can use the cafeteria. They have informed us that they're not allowing any outside agencies to use school facilities until after June 30th at least.
Can we get something from the police? You got one promotional for police and one promotional for fire, is that correct?
Correct.
Let's get an opinion from their administration. How badly do they need this to go forward? I don't think those aren't drop dead issues. I'm sure we can find.
We have current lists for those.
Yeah.
It's just the regular schedule to hold these promotional exams is every 2 years. So we're just on our regular schedule of holding these. We have active list from the last exam given that we've established for a full 4 years, and then that list just expires when we establish a new list.
The only thing I would say, kind of in favor of this is I do think that, even if nothing else, I think it provides a, something that can be pointed to, for these applicants and for these individuals that are looking to take a test or looking to take a promotional. And, all of a sudden it's not happening. I think the lack of clarity a lot of times can be very unnerving. And I think if we say, look, there's this resolution, I think if the city's able to say there's this resolution that says, when, and again, I've already expressed my concerns around the language that just says when COVID ends. I think that's a little vague, maybe we tighten that up a little bit, but, something that says, basically giving them some type of clarity of when COVID ends based on XYZ, or 6 months from now, then we'll be back in business. It'll be frustrating for them still, but I think it at least gives them some type of time frame that they can wrap their head around. That's, again, my concern is more so the defining when COVID ends, because I wouldn't want, if COVID is over on July 1st, but how is that defined? And then we kind of, then people miss the boat because there's confusion around how is that defined? Is it because the executive orders have to, you need an executive order lifting it? Again, it's a little too vague on the COVID stuff, but I actually think this provides a pretty good service to the applicants because it gives them a little clarity, because something they can look to, and it's not just, oh yeah, we're not having it, we'll get back to you.
My big concern is with the 2 promotional exams to be administered or to be scheduled in June for the police and fire. Past practice indicates that we give them every 2 years. I don't think it would be beyond our capabilities to find a space that can take 60 people, 10 feet apart. We can use a gymnasium, we can use an auditorium, you can use an armory. I think we can accommodate that. And those individuals that are approaching eligibility for those tests, I can tell you have studied for them, have been studying, pointing towards that date because it's been a past practice. So my concern is it defensible? Perhaps. I think we got to look at it, was it right or wrong? The tests that are getting 1 and 2 candidates, I'm not as concerned with those. But when you've got a large number of people that have invested time and money in preparation for those tests, that's a concern. Because if we move it out a year, that does allow for a whole nother set of eligible people for that test that have met seniority dates or time and position dates. It expands the pool, it increases the competition. So I know what it's like to sit in those seats. So that's my concern. We're changing something. What's the interpretation? And you know what? We don't know where we're going to be. I don't think 60 is hard to accommodate, but that's one man's opinion. I don't know. I could be way off on that. I think in its present form, it needs a fair amount of work and reflection with regards to injured or affected parties.
The other exams that we've posted and postponed up until now have been posted because we do have provisionals in those titles. And under civil service law, we have to order an exam within 30 days of a provisional appointment. So it's not, we weren't just we weren't posting the exams just to post and hold exams to have list out there to hire from in the future. It was, we were posting them because they'd been ordered due to a provisional applicant being in that position.
So what does this resolution do in relation to that type of situation, Sandy?
So
Where we're mandated by civil service law.
This resolution, I guess I would ask Peachy if this resolution stops us from following that section of law of ordering an exam within 30 days due to this.
Sandy, can we get an opinion from state civil service with regards to accommodations made relative to the COVID-19 issue?
No accommodation. They have left the postponement of exams up to each local municipality to make their own decisions on. They have expressed the concern of the security, like I mentioned, if people are taking tests in one county, but they're signed up for a test in another county under the same series of exams. The other thing is, this is what most municipalities are doing as far as posting their exams and then postponing them when it gets to the date due to the COVID, because like you said in the beginning, none of us thought we would be here 3 months later when it first happened and we were first closed. So I think the concern on the city side and why this was brought to us is that we're concerned if we have candidates who are in provisional appointments and we are losing them because they don't either apply for their test, which becomes an automatic failure per our rules, or if they don't sit for it, if we don't postpone it and then they lose their job, and the city not hiring at this time, then we have an issue with having a vacancy and potentially a really dire position.
So let me make this recommendation, and I'd like to get feedback from Linda and Mike on this. What do you guys think about asking Sandy to reach out to Schenectady and Rensselaer County because they're in close proximity, and maybe Onondaga and Monroe counties, and ask them, what's going on there, and ask the cities too. Ask Troy and Schenectady and Syracuse and Rochester, how are they handling this? I really don't want to be an outlier. I just think it weakens our defensibility. And our chief obligation is to make sure this is an appropriate process for all, but chiefly it needs to be, all our actions need to be defensible. And when you're an outlier, I think it lends itself to scrutiny. So that's what I would offer up as maybe a better way to have more information when we meet again. Linda, do you have an opinion on this?
Well, I would just like to ask Sandy, is there a time restriction? Was this resolution addressing a period of time that it needed to be approved?
Not that I know of. When reading the resolution, the COVID pandemic, it was just asked that it be due to the COVID pandemic. I think Peachy put that in there, so we did have a time limit where this ended, but there wasn't one requested for a time period of this.
Yeah, my only other question, as we were discussing this, I think Tom asked it, and it was how many people does it affect? And you answered that. So those are my only questions about this.
Mike?
Sorry, I was on mute.
So my only other question is, so obviously we have a few concerns around, we have a few questions and concerns around this, both substantive and technical in nature. The question is, if we get some clarity on this, I'm trying to think of how to word it, but essentially, if we don't do this today, what is the repercussions, right? If we wait to get some clarity, we can have a special meeting? Do we, is it so time sensitive? If we don't do it today, should we have a special meeting? Or is it the kind of thing where, between now and our monthly meeting at the end of June, it would make, it wouldn't be the end of the world if we waited till then, just trying to wrap my head around the importance of this from a timing standpoint.
I was waiting for Peachy, but I don't see where it couldn't wait until the next meeting. This was a request from the Commissioner of Administrative Services. So I think because our exam season is pretty much over until the fall, we wouldn't be posting exams again probably until the beginning of August.
So Sandy, after these 2 promotional exams for the fire and police, you don't see us posting anything new until the end of August or beginning of August?
Correct, because our civil service testing year is on the same kind of schedule as the school year. So it starts in September and it ends in June.
So, I can't agree with Mike. Is it so time sensitive that it can't wait until the end of June? It would only be, we're only allowing for people to sign up. We're not allowing for the test to go forward, but we could push that test out into the, if it becomes easy or viable to conduct the tests in July as opposed to June, that gives us the option. I think it still gives us the option to do it when we want. We're just going to take the application and fee from the people that are interested in it at this point, and then close the application window as well. And then we know exactly how many people we're going to have, and we can accommodate them, as necessary and with an eye towards health and safety.
I think it's fine to wait. I don't think it's something that has to be done today.
Good. That's great. I would make the recommendation that we table it until the next meeting. And I just looked at your first draft of revision. It'll give us time to look at it again.
Yeah, I just cleaned up the COVID ends language. I was actually going to ask, since we're tabling this, for a refresher of some of the questions or other concerns. I think we talked about, what are the repercussions if we don't pass a resolution like this? Like, what's the legal effect? And then you wanted Sandy to follow up with other jurisdictions to see what they're doing. We talked about how many applicants it applies to. You mentioned about promotional exams and having 2 different standards. I thought that the resolution would apply to both. So I'm not sure if that wasn't clear in the resolution or that you were I
think it was, that wasn't a problem with regards to how it was articulated. My concern was if we get to a point, we mentioned the budget shortfall, granted you took it out of the next iteration, but we get to the point where we need to put these people in place, whatever reasons, budgetary or otherwise, administrative concerns or the command staff concerns of police and fire, and we do it and we move forward with it. I want to make sure we've got a set of candidates ready to be tested. If 6 months, if we push this out, that's a long time to hold people in abeyance when they're looking for a promotional position that they may have been looking at for 2 years. That's my only concern. I think it's, I don't know if it needs to be directly addressed, the resolution, I think you cover all manner of civil service testing. So
I think the one concern that you kind of brought up was, and I don't know if Peachy can look into this for us from a legal standpoint, but we have it on the announcements that it says you must meet the minimum qualifications by the date of examination. And we have the original date of examination on the announcement, and that's what we go by. So if like for fire lieutenant, they have to have 5 years as a firefighter within the city of Albany. Now, can we hold it to where only those people who had it by the date of the examination and applied by the last filing date that was published, can we legally do that should the exam date get pushed out?
Yeah, see, I think questions like that, I think we have to get clarity from the State Civil Service Commission. You know, I think, you know, all the more why I think pushing this out to whether it's the next meeting or a special meeting, let's just get some clarity from the state commission around a lot of this stuff, because they'll be able to answer all this, I assume and hope. But I think that'll give us a lot of clarity. Again, I get the purpose of it, and you know, I agree with doing it. I just think we got to flesh this out a little bit from a technical standpoint, and then, you know, once we get that resolved, we can you know, put this to bed.
I don't think I took the budget language out of the one that I sent you. So now I feel like I need to edit it again and send it over to you. But I'll do that in a few minutes.
So, you know what, why don't we, by via email over the next week or two, let's point out concerns and language issues with Peachy so that in the end of June, we have a nice tight resolution to vote on.
Yes. Yes. You can just send me any further concerns and I'll edit it and it can be discussed at the next meeting.
Question, how does that affect the 2 promotional exams? What are we saying about that?
I think we take those applications as we would normally, and we close it on the closing date and hold the test date in abeyance until we find a facility that's capable of hosting that in a safe manner relative to the pandemic related issues, and or if we're going to hold it at all relative to budgetary constraints. How does that sound? I think that would then be a decision to be made. Well, the request would come to us again, Sandy, wouldn't it, to postpone the test?
So, yeah, and so civil service, and I've been communicating with state civil service just because they need to know for our shipping purposes of the exam materials. But we've been just following, if the state is postponing their exams on that day, then we have postponed.
What's your instinct tell you? Will they postpone the promotional exams in the end of June for these 2 positions?
Yes, probably.
Well, that's fine. Let's just follow in lockstep with the state. That makes it easier.
Yeah, makes it easy.
Yeah, and many other municipalities have. I think there's a few that probably are holding them, and those are the smaller municipalities that maybe have like smaller police agencies where your promotional fields maybe 3 candidates or 5 candidates, where obviously they can probably use an office in their municipal building to hold the exams, where we have over 60 for both.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So do we want to, Tom, do we want to make the motion to table this to our next meeting?
I would. I just want to make sure. Linda, do you have any other insight or questions on this?
I don't.
No. Mike?
Nope.
I would make that recommendation that we table it until the June meeting.
Approve.
Second.
And did you want me to reach out to those other municipalities, those county civil service commissions and the few city ones that have
Yeah.
civil service?
Yeah, local jurisdictions and the state. I think we kind of use all of them to kind of answer all these questions.
All right.
Figure out that we're not an outlier, plus get official guidance from the state commission, which is part of the state, the municipal affairs division at the state civil service. What they do, right, is one of the things they're supposed to do is give us guidance. And
I will reach out.
thank you. Great.
So I have no other business, new business.
Am I back?
Yes.
Oh, good. So my connection went out and it just came back. So I would make the recommendation, in case I missed that we table it till the June meeting.
Yep.
And,
It was seconded. and
That's done
approved.
and approved.
okay. Then I would make the recommendation that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
So move.
Passed and carried. Thank you, everybody. Stay well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peachy. Thanks, Ann. See you, Linda. See you, Tom.
Bye-bye. See you,
Yeah.
Tom.
See you
See you,
later.
Mike.